Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Manuel. New York is delaying the controversial mandate that would have required all healthcare workers to get a COVID booster shot by today. Big Fox's Matt Kleindens tells us hospitals were concerned that mandate would have created massive staffing shortages.
Good evening, and the New York Department of Health revealed that up to a quarter of all healthcare workers would not be boosted in time for the original deadline. One healthcare official tells me this extended deadline will give workers more opportunities to get boosted. In a stunning reversal of policy, New York will delay the enforcement of its COVID booster mandate on healthcare workers. The mandate was originally supposed to go in effect today. However, 25% of healthcare workers were at risk of missing the deadline, leading to fears of potential worker shortages.
We think from a clinical standpoint, a booster still has value.
At Guthrie, meanwhile, over 90% of hospital staff has been fully boosted ahead of the original deadline. Dr. Michael Scalzone says the extended deadline will provide benefits for its hospital workers.
We do think that this extra time that the state is giving us will just make it a little easier to get everyone to that level.
The announcement drew broad reaction from residents online, with some reacting positively to the delay, while a few were critical of the delay. Dr. Scalzone says despite the number of COVID cases decreasing, he will continue to highlight the importance of being boosted to all Guthrie staff.
That helps maintain our staffing levels so we can care for both COVID and non-COVID patients.
New York is extending the deadline for at least 3 more months. Matt Kleindens, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
The Elmira Police Department is beginning to upgrade its fleet of patrol cars. The department is unveiling this new Dodge Charger for testing purposes. The new car has police-like packages, backseat partitions, radios, and computers installed. 3 more Ford patrol cars are being upfitted and are scheduled to hit the road in the coming month. The Elmira City School District is celebrating President's Day by recognizing one of the district's iconic schools. The school district posted a picture of the George Washington School, which is located on Washington Avenue and positioned between Lincoln and Johnson Streets. The district tweeted that the school is an iconic piece of Elmira architecture and nostalgia for many long-ago students. Struggling to keep up with your rising energy bills? You're not alone. An exclusive new report by Fox Business finds that millions of Americans couldn't pay their home energy bills almost every month last year. Lydia Hu is at New York's largest power plant with this report.
A group called Help Advisor analyzed the most recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau exclusively for Fox Business to look for trends in spending on utility bills. They found that 24% of Americans, roughly 1 in 4, reduced or forwent basic expenses like food and medicine so they could pay their energy bill in the last 12 months. 16% of Americans kept their homes at an unsafe temperature to lower their energy bill. About 4.5%, or more than 9 million Americans, said they could not pay their home energy bill almost every month in the past year. That rises to 41 million Americans who say they've been unable to pay at least once within the past year. These trends are particularly concerning, especially for Americans who are on fixed incomes.
Some of our members are telling us that they're foregoing certain medical procedures because they don't have the money for the out-of-pocket expenses to get these procedures done. And they're telling us that they're buying fewer groceries.
The national balance for utility accounts in arrears climbed 10% from 2020, reaching $22.3 billion last year. California and New York were among the states leading the country, each reporting more than $1 billion in arrears in their states. The concern is that there's no relief in sight for Americans. Right now, most are under winter shut-off moratoriums, but those will start to expire come March and April, meaning millions of Americans will have to face these skyrocketing utility bills. Reporting from Manhattan, Lydia Hu for Fox Business.
Gas prices are on the rise across the country. Energy analysts say tensions abroad and lower COVID-19 cases could make the situation worse. Mark Meredith has the latest from the White House.
With the world on edge over a potential war between Russia and Ukraine and COVID cases on the decline, experts are warning Americans could soon see even higher prices at the gas pump. AAA reports the national average for a gallon of regular is up 21 cents from a month ago and 91 cents from a year prior. Energy analysts believe prices are likely to keep climbing, with travel demand surging as COVID cases drop. And experts warn a prolonged conflict in Eastern Europe could make the situation even worse.
We could see prices moving 50 to 75 cents more per gallon if the tensions escalate between Russia and Ukraine.
Russia is one of the largest producers of oil in the world. If it ultimately invades Ukraine, U.S. and European officials are vowing to impose harsh sanctions against Russia, which officials say will likely impact the energy industry worldwide.
When America stands for her principles, it requires sometimes for us to put ourselves out there in a way that maybe we will incur some cost.
To prevent price spikes, last week U.S. officials traveled to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates to discuss global energy supplies. The White House says it did not directly ask the Saudis to increase oil production at those meetings, but critics say the Biden administration may have little choice in the future.
We've gone from being energy independent to now he's groveling before the Saudis, asking that they pump more.
A potential energy crisis could also create huge political headaches for the White House. Democrats are already facing an uphill battle heading into this year's midterm elections. At the White House, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Fears Russia could soon invade Ukraine spiked today after Russian President Vladimir Putin announced his intention to recognize 2 breakaway regions in Ukraine as independent. Madeline Rivera is in Washington with the latest developments.
To give the republics the right to secede from a single state without any conditions, at first glance this is generally incomprehensible, some kind of madness.
Russian President Vladimir Putin in a primetime address to his nation on Monday, giving his own history lesson about Ukraine, a country he repeatedly argues has long-standing ties with Russia and was once part of the Russian Empire. Now, in a move foreign affairs analysts see as a bid to reclaim territory, Putin will recognize independence for 2 separatist regions of Ukraine, Luhansk and Donetsk.
When it gets down to what he is talking about here, is that Ukraine never should have been separated from the Soviet Union. It is a part of Russia, and I'm taking back the land that is rightfully ours.
Questions remain as to exactly how Putin moves forward. U.S. officials warn as many as 190,000 Russian troops surround the Ukrainian border, ready to invade. All eyes are also on Western leaders to see how they respond.
You can feel the reverberations across Eastern Europe and Western Europe, where there is a lot of concern. Where does Putin stop? Where does this thing end?
The U.S. responding with sanctions.
We've been very clear about what they are, how severe they're going to be, and we'll see what Mr. Putin decides to do.
Ukrainian forces are preparing for the worst as shelling from Russian-backed separatists intensify. President Biden, who also spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday, has signaled he is open to meeting with President Putin if Russia hasn't invaded Ukraine just yet. The prospects of that summit dimming, though, after Putin's speech on Monday. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Still ahead tonight, messages of goodwill and support from across the UK on Sunday as the royal family confirms Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19.
Any person of that age will need to be monitored fairly carefully. And also, I think, given antivirals, we do know that if you give antivirals early on in an illness, you can substantially reduce the risk of severe disease.
A statement from the palace coming up.
Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
All right, thanks again for checking in as we take a look at your local forecast. I'm meteorologist Todd Nelson, and it will be a warm and breezy overnight. Looking at low temperature tomorrow morning in Elmira Corning at 37. The average overnight low is 18, and coming into our Wednesday morning, we may have even warmer temperatures and even close to record warm overnight lows. So that'll be Wednesday morning, but your sunrise tomorrow is at 6:52, and then tomorrow topping out at 53 with an average high of 38, and then sunset tomorrow is 4:48. So we're only a couple to a few weeks away from that time change in early March when we spring ahead. Again, mild and breezy into Tuesday, but more rain Tuesday and Wednesday. And some of the rain could be locally heavy, maybe even a few rumbles of thunder as we head farther west of the Finger Lakes region on Tuesday afternoon into the evening hours. But then turning cooler late week with some snowfall potential into Friday. Here's a look at the 5-day snowfall potential and some light and even dark blue showing up close to home. So that might be that Thursday night into Friday time period with some snowfall. So we'll continue to monitor that. In the meantime, some flood watches close to home, especially off to the west and north of us. Again, this will continue through Tuesday night with some locally heavy pockets of rain. So tonight, again, should be pretty quiet. At some point midday Tuesday, we'll have some showers working through. Some of the rain, again, could be locally heavy at times, a couple of claps of thunder, and then Wednesday we quiet down, especially into the morning hours with clouds and a couple of sprinkles left over. But there's your rainfall potential through midweek here, some 1/4 to 1/2 inch amounts and some 1/2 inch to 3/4 amounts a little bit farther south and west, and especially where those flood watches are. Again, don't be surprised tomorrow later in the day if you hear a few claps of thunder. Tonight, though, we're down to 37, still pretty quiet. Average overnight low is 18, so we are well above that. 38 degrees in Wayland. Ithaca will be at 38, Binghamton at 37. Clouds thicken up during the day Tuesday, with winds also picking up out of the south. In fact, some 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts can't be ruled out. And again, well above average here with rain developing, some of that to the north and to the west of us, a little bit on the heavier side with some isolated thunder chances. Wednesday, again, maybe a couple of leftover showers, but temperatures will be falling as we head through the day. But that Wednesday morning low could be near record warm lows, as I mentioned. And as I mentioned, during the day Wednesday, we'll actually see those temperatures fall throughout the day as that colder air begins to settle on in. Again, some rain showers will be possible early, but again, not much is expected. Thursday, temperatures much cooler, down about 10 degrees from average, and a little bit of snowfall as well Thursday night. And then there's that extended temperature outlook, which really does bring us into some cooler air by the early part of March. So we'll continue to monitor that snow chance as we head into the end of the week.
Messages of goodwill and support pouring out of the UK after the royal family confirms Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19. Christina Coleman has the story.
A surprising announcement from Buckingham Palace on Sunday with the news that Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19. The palace saying in a statement that she is experiencing mild symptoms but expects to continue working. Britain's longest reigning monarch, the Queen, is fully vaccinated and has had a booster shot. She's been in robust health for most of her reign, but did spend a night in the hospital in October. Her treatment will likely include antiviral drugs that have been approved in the UK to treat COVID-19.
Any person of that age will need to be monitored fairly carefully. And also, I think, given antivirals, we do know that if you give antivirals early on in an illness, you can substantially reduce the risk of severe disease.
Both the Queen's eldest son, Prince Charles, and his wife, Camilla, contracted the virus recently. Charles has since returned to work. There are also believed to be several recent cases at Windsor Castle where the Queen is staying. Since the announcement, she's received an outpouring of well wishes from across the UK.
She's an icon. She's an icon of the UK. She's epitome of the UK in some ways. I mean, most people in the country have never known any monarch other than her, so she embodies the UK in so many ways.
She has to get better. We can't afford to lose her just yet. I think that, obviously with her Platinum Jubilee, I think we want her to recover very quickly, and we want to see her back to herself again as soon as possible.
The Queen celebrated 70 years on the throne this month, and she will turn 96 in April.
Police in Canada gained control of the Freedom Convoy protest in Ottawa after demonstrators set up trucks and barricades for weeks near the center of Canadian government. Matt Finn has the latest.
Hundreds of riot officers moving in Saturday to disperse protesters in downtown Ottawa in one of the largest police operations in Canada's history.
You have our commitment that we are here until the very end. Go home. This occupation is now over. We will continue with our mission until it is complete.
Protesters have occupied the street in front of Parliament Hill for more than 3 weeks, pushing back against COVID-19 restrictions put in place by the Canadian government.
Came here looking to get rid of mandates, and I realized that's not enough. People out there are scared. We need to change peace of mind. We need to hold people accountable.
Some Ottawa residents, however, said they felt harassed and intimidated, and that incessant honking went on day and night. The government invoked emergency powers to put an end to the demonstration and freeze bank accounts containing donations made to the protesters. They also plan to reimburse Ottawa businesses that suffered losses due to blockades. The last of the trucks leaving the protest site getting a strong send-off from supporters, many of whom say they plan to come back with or without the convoy.
I don't think this is a sad moment. Everybody seems pretty happy. I've been here for 3 weeks. I wanted to stay till the end. I don't believe this is the end.
Ottawa police say 38 vehicles were towed today and 170 arrests over the past 2 days. In Ottawa, Canada, Matt Finn.
American Airlines is cutting back some international summer travel because of plane supply delays. The company says it will temporarily stop service between Seattle and London, Los Angeles and Sydney, and Dallas and Santiago, Chile. Other flights to Tel Aviv and Santiago will also be curtailed. Only 10 of 13 planned Boeing 787 deliveries will come this year due to some production flaws. Other summer plans for Hong Kong, Edinburgh, Scotland, Shannon, Ireland, and Prague were already canceled in December. Only about 80% of Americans' pre-pandemic summer of 2019 schedule will operate. A CDC report reveals a spike in eating disorders in teens, especially teen girls during the pandemic. Lisa Evers has more.
Nearly everyone has experienced stress at some point during the pandemic, but a new CDC report reveals it was especially tough on teen girls. The agency says visits by adolescent girls to emergency rooms doubled across the country. The main reason was to seek treatment for mental health issues, including eating disorders.
I think it's very alarming, but unfortunately not surprising for a variety of reasons. Adolescents have been lonely and isolated. They're not socializing as much with friends. Their daily routines have really been disrupted. Their sleep, their eating, their exercise, their everyday routines. And there's been an overall lack of control.
Dr. Silton says to some teen girls, the only thing they feel they can control is what they put into their mouths. She says eating disorders are a particular concern because they carry both mental and physical health risks, with social media messaging increasing the pressure.
Because social media is often discussing pandemic-related weight gain. It's giving various quick weight loss ideas. And so there's just a barrage of these messages constantly for these adolescents.
Other contributing factors to the sharp increase include the weight obsessions of parents and the lack of activities that can help build the girls' self-esteem.
I think it's really important for teenagers to think about what they're passionate about, what wakes them up in the morning, what they're excited about, and for parents and teachers to really nurture those talents.
Dr. Silton does see some hope. She believes the body positivity movement, which is big on social media, is helping to counter all the other imagery, which reinforces harmful messaging that girls aren't good enough as they are.
Household products across the U.S. continue skyrocketing, with meats and some produce reaching higher prices than last year. According to data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, American households were spending more than 12% of their income on food by the end of 2021. In January, the costs of meats like beef, veal, pork, chicken, seafood, and eggs increased all more than 10% compared to the same time last year. Inflation reached a 4-decade high of more than 7% in January, according to the latest Consumer Price Index. Get this, next time you hit the road, you might be sharing it with a driverless semi-truck. Marianne Rafferty has the story from Los Angeles.
Companies are trying to do their part to tackle the nationwide truck driver shortage. How, you might ask? By creating driverless trucks.
What we're doing in Arkansas with Walmart is operating 2 of our autonomous box trucks on a 7.1-mile long route in a repeated and daily fashion.
Autonomous vehicle startup Gatik and Walmart becoming the latest duo to partner up in an effort to help with the driver shortage. The trucking industry faces a critical driver deficit since the start of the pandemic. The American Trucking Association has estimated that the shortage could be as high as 80,000. Gatik isn't the only player in the autonomous driving game. Self-driving truck company Embark Technology Incorporated says it was handing over some of its trucks to one of the largest freight carriers in the U.S., Knight-Swift. And in Arizona, Two Simple Holdings taking it up a notch by testing out driverless semi-trucks. The company recently testing their truck at a facility in Tucson.
It didn't interfere with traffic, right? We don't want this to be a test tube kind of test. We want this to be a real open road driving experience.
The successful 1 hour and 20-minute trial run started at a rail yard in Tucson and ended in a distribution center in the Phoenix area. To protect drivers on the road, the truck was escorted by police cars. The company's CEO feeling optimistic about the future.
We're solving this demand-supply problem.
Too Simple CEO says the company will be conducting more tests throughout the year to ensure safety.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. An Australian man performs a towering feat of mental strength only to destroy the evidence of his achievement. 22-year-old Brendan Kelby refused to watch his former M&M's glory melt away into obscurity after losing an M&M's stacking record he held in 2020 at 4 delicious round pieces. Will Cutbill of Britain overtook him at 5 pieces in 2021. But Kelby patiently reclaimed his Guinness World Records title with a tower of 6, count 'em, 6 M&Ms. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.